Welcome to Honest Whispers Review. On this video I'll be reviewing Spider-Man vs. Dr. Octopus Miniature, which is basically a statue or a diorama. It was released by Applause back in 1997. There's no designer or sculptor credited. It does come with the certificate of authenticity, but it's not individualized. And it doesn't have any information, once again, on the sculptor or the designer. It's from the Marvel Limited line, and it is limited to 5,000 pieces. This particular piece is number 3,908 out of 5,000. I'm going to go over 5 different categories to review this. First category is design, which goes over the pose or the concept of the statue or diorama. And I call it diorama because it's basically, unlike a statue where it's just a depiction of one character just usually standing or posing, a diorama is actually a part of a scene that either tells a story or an actual scene itself, or I would say, how you say, it reenacts like a famous scene. This is basically a battle between Spider-Man versus Dr. Octopus. I can't recognize this from a particular story or a comic, but it is definitely a familiar scene where you have Dr. Octopus with this mechanical arms, Spider-Man dodging and getting a punch in while he's flying from the web, or using the web, although they made it black, although it should be white, and it looks like he's kind of crashing through the wall. I would even say maybe bouncing off the wall, but his legs kind of like, in the wall itself. So, and you see a lot of the debris from the wall as well. The background with this wall, unfortunately you can't see anything from this side, but definitely displayable from many different angles, at least 180 degrees. And once again, going over some more details, the pose, the way the mechanical arms are. I mean, it's definitely up there. The pose, the concept, I mean, they're in the fighting scene. Of course, it is Spider-Man eccentric, so if you're a Dr. Octopus fan, not so great having a diorama or a miniature showing him getting punched in the face, literally in the act of getting punched. You could even see how his face is a little bit deformed by the punch, kind of in pain. He's wearing his glasses and suit. So definitely I would put this design and the pose on this at a 10, perfect 10 out of 10. It's just, there really isn't a statue or a diorama out there that has this kind of dynamic pose to it. The next category is sculpting. Sculpting basically covers the execution. As you can see, as I mean by execution, it's really, sculpting is transferring 2D art to 3D art. So that's basically what it's supposed to look like. So when I look at the picture, it doesn't look like he's crashing through the wall. Rather, he's swinging from the top of the wall and throwing in a punch. So the wall looks like is already busted up pretty much. Now, when you look at the 3D version, not quite the same. I would probably have to angle it this way to make it more of a close angle to what the art depiction is, so that you could actually kind of see Dr. Octopus's face. So there are subtle differences. Even on the ground, you could see more of the debris is towards the wall. It's not really spread out. This thing is just kind of spread out. And of course, not everything is sculpted. So like certain areas here, it's just painted on, or like the white there. As you can see, it is sculpted, those white rocks, but then as you can see, it's not very clean. There's not like clean cuts in the sculpting. His suit is very nicely detailed. You can see all the wrinkles. Very much looks like a real suit. Has that look to it. Hair is not bad. It's a little bit more, how you say, simplified. Due to certain dull lines, it does take away from the quality. And as you can see here on the face and the cheek, of course it's not always the sculptor's mistake or fault. It is the molding or the casting itself. And as you can see, his cheek, a little Velveeta cheese looking there. Got some cellulite on his chin. Spider-Man overall looks great. They did detail his web lines on sculpting. My biggest complaint is he has no neck. So they could have kind of made that a little bit better. I could understand, I mean, from here with that angle on the art, he has no neck. So not really, it's not bad. You can't really, I mean, it's just, I guess more when you look at it in real life, it just looks like he has his head kind of stuck into his shoulder a little bit. I guess from this angle looks a little bit better. Hands look overall okay. Of course, it's not perfect. Dr. Octopus's right hand. Still overall great. Let's see. They used a little plastic piece for this webbing. Of course, it's just sitting there kind of like not even like fully like slacked out. I mean, there's too much slack to it, so it's just doesn't look right. And of course, it is the wrong color, but that should be under painting. So overall, sculpting's not bad. I mean, there's a little issues here and there. Like right here, the way his leg is kind of molded onto that. So it is part of the leg. So that doesn't look that clean. But of course, these are very small and subtle. Like right here, his hand. It's not bad, but when you look close, it just, the quality isn't there. So this on the sculpting, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because it's still overall good, but it's just it's not perfect. There's few minor flaws. It's not big, but it is noticeable. Next category is painting. Painting isn't that great. As you can see, even from starting from the ground and the white rocks that I've shown before, from the hands, right there, see how part of that rock is silver. I mean, at least there's a lot of painting that runs, you know, over lines, which isn't too bad. I mean, here's like the suit and stuff. Like, you can't really tell that much overall. Like right here, his neck. It's a bit rough. Of course, they could always do a better job. Unlike the Spider-Man versus Venom, his entire costume is matte. There's no gloss finish to any of these paint. The wall's not bad, actually done pretty good with the shades of gray does give it a bit of that rustic old look to it. Of course, just like the Spider-Man vs. Venom miniature, my issues here would be, I know it's a lot of work, but if they could have drawn like a black line or something on the webbing, would have stood out. I mean, as you can see in the comic art, it's real. Of course, they can't just draw it red, but then still, I think it would have made it look better, had more of that Spider-Man feel to it. Does take a little bit away from the quality without the black lines on his webs. And of course, this is black plastic for the web itself, but it should have been white. Eyes are nice. No issues there. So overall it is good. I mean, but it's a bit sloppy, especially with Dr. Octopus. And of course these rocks, like the paint, the white paint, it's not fully white, so you could see like globs of black, and the paintbrush lines too, or which way the brushes were, you know, stroked. So yeah, they could have used a lot better paint quality itself. So the black underneath the white rocks do show, so that makes it kind of sloppy as well. And they just overdid it with these little like polka dot looking, you know, I mean, little white rocks. I mean, just a few would have been more than, you know, subtle and perfect, just like here on the art background. So the painting, I'm gonna give it a good hit on the painting score. I'm gonna give the painting score a 6 out of 10. Next category is value. When this originally came out back in 1997, I can't fully remember what the retail price was. It was either around like $29.99 or $39.99. I think it's around there. And right now, when I check this on eBay and other websites like Amazon, the lowest right now for a used one is at $100. They go between $100 to $130 depending on the condition. This is straight out of the box, never even opened. Unfortunately, I never got to really enjoy this, so this is the first time this diorama has been out of the package. And right now it's 2018, so it's like, wow. So the value is pretty good on the aftermarket value, and even though you can't pose it or display it from the back, it's definitely displayable from many different angles. And the reason why I mentioned that here on the value section is because it adds to your value as well. Like for me, like I could get sick of a statue if I display it like this, and then I'll display it like this for like a few months, and then once I get kind of sick of that, I can display it like this, and then pretty much go back to different angles. So kind of gives it a new feel for it. So that adds to the value. It's kind of like replay value if you look at it as a video game. So I'm going to give it a high score, a 9 out of 10 on the value. So overall, I do like this better than Spider-Man vs. Venom miniature, just because there's a lot more details. The pose, everything's more dynamic. So overall, it is an 8 out of 10. I do like it better than Spider-Man vs. Venom, which I also gave it an 8 out of 10. It's just a small edge, but I didn't think it was right to measure it up against that miniature and just give it a 9. And I don't really do 0.5s in my scoring. So basically, yeah, it's the same score, but honestly, I just like this a little bit better than the Spider-Man versus Venom. So once again, I'm gonna give this an overall an 8 out of 10. So going over everything, it's definitely a nice diorama, very unique. 1997. This is kind of the era when these statues, figures, resin statues, PVC statues, dioramas really started, I guess, getting recognition and really started, production. There's not much more you could find in the early 90s. This is once again 1997, so this wasn't the first one, but it was definitely one of the first of its kind. Better to categorize. So to recap, I'm gonna give the design 10 out of 10. Sculpting 9 out of 10. Painting 6 out of 10. Value 9 out of 10. And overall 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Until next time.